Hello everyone and welcome to the Redmen TV. I'm Steve. Joined by Paul Machen here in front of the Philadelphia Union Stadium. We're down with the LFC Foundation doing a coaching clinic, but we're here to bring you our latest Liverpool.
We're not doing the coaching clinic, just to be clear.
I
saw you and Joe passing the ball back and forth before, and the only thing you'd be schooling them in is how to pass the football.
Chase the football. Paul's joined in Philadelphia. I'm delighted. He's being nice already. We're going to be talking about the latest Liverpool news stories. Paul, obviously you were flying for most of yesterday, so you might have missed some of this, but Liverpool rejected a bid, I'm just getting the details here, of £11.8 million from Marseille for Wataru Endo. I'm always of the opinion, mate, that bids don't come in for players unless teams are half confident that the player might fancy the move. So behind the scenes, you maybe get a bit of Endo, maybe rumblings that maybe he'll be up for leaving. I don't know.
You know what? I think that's a really interesting take, because actually that is historically what you'd expect to happen. A bid comes in and then the conversation follows from the bid. Whereas the last 2 or 3 years, you hear players agreeing fees before, and the bids seem to come afterwards. Bids almost the last part of the process. Yeah. So it's mad that I don't see where this bid comes from unless you've had some encouragement. You must have spoken to the players, people, or the player himself, or Liverpool, and had a nod that they'd be interested. I mean, he wasn't totally on it, was he, at the game against Betis?
Poor, yeah.
But then it's a
pre-season
game. Yeah, but it's an interesting one. I think what Liverpool would look at it and go is, if we can make our money back on him, then they'd probably
I suppose, mate,
be more likely to accept.
So, sorry, I suppose like we all think Liverpool need a DM, but if Liverpool sell Endo, they probably need 2 DMs. Yeah. So it's like, so what's the point of selling him? What you're going to do? But maybe they think, well, we buy one and we use Bajcetic, and therefore if we can get Endo was a stopgap. He stopped the gap, and we move on, get some more money back for him.
Look, if he doesn't fit what the manager wants, then what's the point? You know, he was a stopgap. He was like, Liverpool needed someone. I like Endo. I think he's a good player, and I thought he got better and better as the season went on. But if you can make your money back, look, even if you to get into the boredom of amortization and whatever, you know, if you get within a couple of million of what you paid for him, you've actually probably made a profit, or at least broken even on him on a year. So you've then profited because you sold Fabinho, and that puts you in a strong position. So don't have Endo and a kid. Go and get a brilliant DM with a little bit more money maybe that you've got available.
Yeah, absolutely. So David Lynch, friend of the show, obviously he isn't here on the tour, but he's speaking on his YouTube channel. He said, sources have suggested to me that Endo is maybe someone Liverpool will be open to selling. It's my understanding that the player hasn't quite worked his way into Slot's plans so far pre-season. He's not going to be integral to the plans. That is very much my understanding at the moment anyway. And it's that... None of that seems far-fetched. You mean, like, you wouldn't be shocked if the manager's walked in, because we heard Curtis speaking of that, like, the manager's making midfield integral to his. He wants everything to go through the midfield. The midfield are no longer facilitators; they are the men. Yeah. You could see why Arne Slot might think, well, if I'm playing out from the back, I want my number 6 to be this level. And we don't, like, I agree. I think Endo's been good, but he hasn't been like world class level. And it looks like maybe Slot wants that in his team.
But it goes back to those, this understanding of what the DM is, and for me, the silhouette that you should be aiming for is Rodri, isn't it? And prior to that, it was Fabinho. Prior to that, it was Fernandinho. And it's the linchpin of everything that you're trying to do. And Endo is more akin to the destroyer type. And when you're seeing like Manuel Ugarte, he's been linked a bit, hasn't he? He's that, and I don't know if that's what Edson Alvarez is that as well. Palhinha is that, and Liverpool could have gone harder on any of these players, but they didn't, because I think they require more from that position. And look, also, he talked about Bajcetic, didn't he, in his post-match, and said he's still a bit. He's raw. He's still working his way back to full match sharpness and what have you. But they might have seen enough in there already and gone, well, it's Bajcetic +1, or again, any number of other players that we've got floating around.
Yeah, absolutely. And the final one, our good friend Paul Gorst, he just say, Marseille aren't the only team interested in him. There's a couple of other unnamed clubs who are after him. Liverpool, he mentioned like Liverpool could have further bids come in. If you had to push your Paul, is Endo a Liverpool player come at the end of the transfer window? What would your guess be?
My guess is no, and based on that, because I just don't see how that information gets out unless Endo turns around and goes, "Nah, mate, I'm 100% all in," which is not outside the realms, of course. So yeah, it smells like there's plenty of smoke around us, so there must be some sort of fire.
I suppose from an encouraging point of view, I guess maybe that means that Liverpool are working. We all want Liverpool sign number 6. If Endo's leaving, Liverpool must have irons in the fire. You'd like to hope. You'd like to hope. I mean, not like we haven't sold the DM before and not had one. Oh no, we did literally last year.
Literally sold 2 DMs last summer and ended up with Endo. Yeah.
Interestingly speaking on the DMs, I'll move on to Tyler Morton. Lewis Steele again, he is on the tour. Just saying yesterday, Atalanta.
Great name though.
Great name, Lewis. Likes a beard as well, Lewis. Atalanta are interested in signing Tyler Morton. A few other teams as well, a couple of other clubs. Leipzig involved. Here's, I was thinking, if you're thinking maybe move Endo on because there's a pathway for others, Tyler Morton could have been someone who fulfilled that role. But again, this looks like Liverpool have actually done this quite well, Paul, of developing youngsters, maybe not quite what they think are the level for Liverpool, but they are good Premier League, Championship, Europa League level players, and get a decent amount of money for them. And Tyler Morton's had 2 good loans, and listen, a move to Italy for them could be fantastic. We know how good Atalanta are, Europa League champions. They're going to be Champions League football. That could be a great move for Tyler if he gets that.
I really like Tyler Morton. I want to see more of him. I want to know for my own sense of self-satisfaction whether he is or he isn't. And obviously the coaches know all that damn sight better than I do. People know this after 15 years. But yeah, he could be the one. He could be one of them where they've looked at him and gone, well, someone wants to bid 12 to 15 million pound for Wataru Endo, and we've got Tyler Morton. Tyler Morton might actually stylistically fit a little bit better for what they're looking for, and that might be the decision point. Homegrown as well, that adds into you've got to think about the homegrown quotas and what have you. But it's interesting. This feels a little bit different. This isn't quite as here's a bid and a bid's been rejected or bids are come in. There being interested clubs is no great shock, but that could be again coming from the sort of agent side where people have asked the question and he's just trying to just put it back on Liverpool's toes a little bit and go on, make a decision.
Absolutely, we'll keep an eye on Tyler Morton. He's meant to play in the game in a couple of days' time, so we'll keep an eye on that one. Speaking of players who played in the friendly the other day as well, Paul Sepp Vandenberg, I got to speak to him at the training session yesterday. He didn't give us any exclusive about PSV being interested in him. He didn't do us no favours on that one.
No,
but he did speak to the journalist the other day about his future and it's up in the air and all that kind of stuff. He admitted that himself. Well, Fabrizio Romano tweeted. I
thought that was mad, by the way.
He just said it.
Mad. No. And I think it was Pierce's article, wasn't it? It was certainly in the Athletic, and they were saying like how he was talking about the bids coming in and the price, and that was commonly accepted knowledge at the start of the summer, wasn't it? That he'd been talking about this kind of stuff, but then to almost double down on it, repeat it again, but then also soften it a little bit by saying, well, if I stay at Liverpool, I stay at Liverpool. But that's a really peculiar situation.
Inside info.
Oh, go on.
I was there when he was talking about it.
Oh yeah.
I was right next to he was with James and Paul. He was open and honest guy. He's a cool guy, like a really chill guy. I only got to speak to him for a couple of minutes myself yesterday, but he's a good guy. And he just said, listen, I want to play footy, and if it's here, sound, I'd love it to be here. If Liverpool give me the chance, I'd more than likely to be here. But I think he also realises.
It is.
Hello, boys. Speak of the devil.
The Ghostmobile has arrived.
Speak of the devil. Paul just rocks up in a golf cart behind us. But yeah, he was speaking to the guys, and like I say, I understand it. But anyway, going back to Fabrizio Romano's tweet, says Liverpool have rejected the bids at the end of last week, worth around €10 million. Liverpool immediately rejected that proposal. Reports over in Holland are saying Liverpool wants around €20 million for Sepp Vandenberg, but that amount must be reduced to make a deal with PSV possible. It feels like it's a matter of time again, Paul. It feels like this is literally Liverpool trying to get as much as they can out of a player. They know there's multiple clubs interested in him, so it's not like you're saying to PSV, well, if you don't get him, who we sell them to, they know they could get money elsewhere for him.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that he's starting in Virgil's position at the weekend, just in the last game.
And he played well.
Well, which is because Quance has played that, and actually given that Vandenberg has played a lot at right back as well, I thought it was an interesting decision, and that smells a lot like, well, again, we'll try him out as a Virgil understudy, because why not? But the second Virgil van Dijk comes back, he's going to come in there, and I would suspect that in reality the understudies would be Joe Gomez plays left side of centre half as well, and does a good job there. Quance can do it. Canate's done a little bit of it as well. So yeah, you're keeping Quance training in the position that he's most likely to play in, and then Vandenberg feels like a bit of a sort of place card at the moment. And look, if he shines, he shines. I'll be honest, I think first half in particular, I think he really struggles with his passing, which is the absolute central part of that sort of role. But again, pre-season, very early and all that. It eventually feels like someone's going to reach that threshold. Or, I mean, can I just posit something? I reckon he's probably looking at Nat Phillips and going, I'm not letting that happen to me.
Yeah.
And
I get,
so
yeah.
I'm going to keep mentioning that I want to leave. I'm going to keep mentioning that I want to play football, so that no one forgets that my career is more important to me than what level I'm playing at.
I don't think it's a coincidence, Paul, that a couple of people who stopped to speak to the written journalists the other day. Now, I don't want to go beyond scenes too much. Like, sometimes Liverpool bring people over, and sometimes the players just get to stop. It's up to them. It was Sepp van der Merwe and it was Fabio Carvalho, two players who, and in Fabio's piece, I don't know if you've read that, he said, like, I want to play central, but the manager's telling me I'm playing as a winger. Yeah. Basically said that. So, yeah. And he said that to the Fabio openly said that. So there's two players who might be using, not using the media to the advantage, but making it known. You know what I mean? Listen, I'm here, I'm available. Again, going back to Sepp though, Paul. Sorry, very quickly. I spoke to him. You should go and check it out on Red Men Plus. You're interested about the ball playing stuff before, because that's what he said to me. I'm Dutch. This is what I'm meant to do. Yeah. If he's not good at that, he's not. And I think he might be, but I don't know. He's not. He's going to be nowhere near it.
It was raw, and he had different players in front of him as well. Like, so it wasn't quite as well practiced. It was said during the LFC TV commentary, like having two guys in front meant there was slightly more options for triangles, but it felt a bit like, particularly first half before he went off injured, Curtis was kind of going, actually I'll try running in here. That wasn't tried and tested, so it was actually he was a pick out, but it was a slightly more complicated one. But he looks like he'd be on his way. And on the Carvalho stuff as well, the left side stuff, I thought that's what we were buying him for. I thought we were going to buy him to groom him to play along the front three, and he's never shown that he can do it from that side. The amount of times
it looks like.
Well, yeah. Well, you want to talk about some of the things you noticed in training, didn't you? Unless you've got any more news before.
We want to speak briefly on Ben Doak, but we can.
We'll do Ben Doak and then we'll come back to Carvalho.
Yeah, sound. Yeah, because we'll do a round later with the opening training session. There's some of the things we spotted from pitch side, but let's move on to Ben Doak. There was a couple of days ago, but we haven't spoken on the news shows for a while. Both Southampton and Leicester want him on loan, according to James Pearce. I get it. Two Premier League clubs, two well-promoted Premier League clubs. Yeah. My worry, Paul, is that Ben Doak, if he goes on loan, he has to play and play a lot. If you're a manager of a relegation-threatened team, it's really difficult to put your trust, I think, in a young lad on loan. I always feel like these managers will always go back to the tried and tested. You know what I mean? And that's my worry about those two clubs. Not what your thoughts.
But did you see how both of those teams play football last season?
They like to play football.
They do. We saw Southampton up and close, didn't we? And I was really impressed by how they went about it. Look, ultimately they got beaten by a team of Liverpool kids, in the cup. But I thought I liked their style of play, and you've got half a season there before that maybe gets given up. It depends how much they stick with the managers, how much they stick with the style, and obviously Leicester will be different, slightly different this season. If nothing else, yeah. So you might get that like explosion of it feels to me, if you're letting Doak go, that we're probably going to bring someone else in as a Salah cover, because for a start I've never really understood it, because Doak is right-footed, so and his pace maybe compensates for that because he gets beyond men, which means he's got more time to cut back or uses right-footed in a different way. But I would be a bit surprised if he went out on loan. But I think if he gets a really good loan, particularly with his injury things, he might just find himself accelerated. And Salah's not going to be around forever. If you can get someone else good for that right hand side, and then you've got Doak potentially then coming back with a year's worth of football under his belt, then puts you in a strong position.
I suppose that was my next question, really. I can't see this happening unless Liverpool think there's irons in the fire, because as it stands, he is the backup young forward, really, mate. Unless Liverpool think Kay Gordon's way more advanced than him, and Lewis Koeman. There are other options, but certainly Jurgen Klopp had Ben Doak at the top of that list, because he was the Europa League starter. He was the next in line kind of thing of the young crop. Again, things might change under the new head coach. We don't know, but you would guess it would be quite foolish for Liverpool to let Ben Doak go unless somebody else is coming in.
No, absolutely. I totally agree with that. Yeah. It's a mad one. But it also shows how good he is, because at 18, going 19, I think this season, it's still young enough that he'd probably benefit from being around just training and not actually playing loads of football for us. But it shows how good he is, that they might just be able to sort of supercharge his development by getting him a year out on loan somewhere.
Premier League level as well will be interesting. I mean, if you want to look at a player, how good is he? Listen, Liverpool have signed loads of players from the lower half of the Premier League.
Signed loads of players from Southampton, mate. So they become. You've got those clubs that are breeding grounds for the type of player that you want. If Leicester and Southampton are can persist with their style of play, then why not? That sounds great.
We'll keep an eye on the Ben Doak stuff.
So talk to me about training then, because the Carvalho stuff.
Okay.
You noted something about him in training, because you're right, he wants to play central. I think his best position is as a 10. I'm surprised we've not used him even as a false 9 at all. He just looks he doesn't look like a winger at all, but it really looks like they're kind of flogging that in training at the moment.
Yeah, he was. Everything was from the left. Every single thing he did was from the left. He put Lewis Kumas as the centre forward. Him and Jota and Kumas were the 2 9s in the training drills. They were interchanging the 2 different sides. So yeah, but Carvalho was always on the left hand side, and the manager and the head coach, and all the coaches were they were on his case a bit, to be honest with you. Beat your man. At one point we put a video out on our socials. Go and check it out. Arne Slot literally stands in front of him and shows him I want you to do this, Fabio. And he went on, no, Fabio. All the time, just on his case all the time. But I thought it was interesting that Lewis Kumas, who can play wide, and Fabio Carvalho, who wants to play central, Liverpool went the other way. They clearly either wanted to play left or Paul. And this might sound really mad, and I might be way off the mark here. They're trying to basically say to him, you're surplus, mate. You're over there because all our left wingers aren't here. We need some. We'll rather train the lads in the positions they're going to play in, and we'll just use you as a space filler for now until that's the sense I got of it.
Well, I thought it was interesting as well because they've not brought a striker on the tour.
No.
Obviously Jayden Danns hasn't come, which I think is a bit of a mad decision. Obviously, there's still talk of him going out on loan. I think
he might have a slight injury as well.
Okay, well that would be a factor in that, certainly. But Salah's the next in line, isn't he? So you just play Salah. For me, I was like, we just play Salah in the night. I said, well, but clearly they're trying to keep players in
where they're
going to play. So Salah's clearly going to play right hand side for us. We've had a lot of that chat. Will Salah be a 9? There's no point in Salah being a 9. We own loads of 9s. We don't own anyone else who really plays on the right hand side. So Carvalho, you're right. I thought it was a good opportunity to see him, but there's no point because almost unless he becomes a goal a game centre forward, and I don't think he's got the physique to do that in the Premier League. He's going to be stopgapping one way or the other. But the left hand side, you're right. Everyone who plays out there is not there, with the exception of obviously Jota, who's just come into training, hasn't he? I feel a bit of a shame. The other slight thing as well is, I'm not sure you're going to turn him into a left winger in a handful of training sessions on a pre-season tour, but there's far more value in him if you're telling people he can play from multiple positions, because not a lot of teams will want a specialist number 10 in the squad. It's telling that he's, his 2 best seasons he's had have been in the Championship, where 4-2-3-1 and that kind of thing, you can get away with, you can carry players like that because they're special for that type of level, but it's not worked for him. It didn't work for him early on in the season. It was at Leipzig, was his loan, wasn't it? So yeah, feel a bit sorry for him. I think he's a hell of a player. I think he's got something. Just doesn't look like he's got something at Liverpool's sort of level.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that one. Like I said, there's a lot of young players being linked with moves away, isn't there? Absolutely. A couple of other things I noted I thought was interesting from the session, just how hands-on Arne Slot is. Mate, he is Liverpool have had different types of managers. They've had managers who let the coaches coach. They've had coaches. They've had all of these things. He is the most hands-on I've seen. I was around Brendan Rodgers a little bit. We went to some of his coaching sessions, and he was hands-on. But he always had his assistant, whether it be Colin Pascoe was often the one leading the sessions. And like Arne Slot yesterday, there was a middle session. So the warm-up session was 2 separate sessions, and they had one big session, and it was all about playing out from the back and pressing, so defence against attack. And it was Arne Slot's session. He ran every single thing. He blew every whistle. He shouted every instruction. He was stopping players and going, no, literally hands-on with Endo, going, I want you to do this, I want you to do this. Like, he is the most hands-on Liverpool coach, like head coach. I think I can remember him. I mean, obviously, I'm struggling to remember another one.
It's interesting. I remember being on one of these tours, and it must have been LA, and Jurgen Klopp, I think it was a Jurgen Klopp, but Jurgen Klopp's first pre-season tour, and there was a defensive session. And he was like that, but he was really in and moving defenders to where they should be and stuff, which felt like it fell more upon his sort of level of speciality. Whereas Bubak was really in there as well. But you're right, you see a lot of them like floating around and observing, whereas even just from the training footage, you've seen a lot of Slot. He does seem very. I like it. I harbour concerns because of the similarities to Brendan Rodgers in some regards because of that, but then that's based on nothing really. That's just based on a guy who's not Jurgen Klopp is definitely more of a coach, is obviously much more tactically sort of minded. But yeah, I know I don't think it's a bad thing, and obviously he was quite a technically good footballer himself as well, so he can get himself in the mix a little bit.
Pinged
more.
A few passes, but he looked half decent. I was thinking that myself. The other thing with Paul as well, he's the head coach. Like, the reason Jurgen didn't do all the coaching was because he had all these other things to do. He was in meetings about things and
training kits.
Honestly, Arne Slot is the head coach. Like, you don't have to worry about it. He's got Richard Hughes making all those phone calls, hopefully anyway, and all that kind of stuff. He can be the man who. And I thought it was fascinating. I thought as well, the whole setup of the coaching setup. And again, please go and check out the vlog of the training session. You might catch them on there. Ruben Peters was there, Johnny Heitinga, Arne Slot and a few others.
Can we have a little word about Johnny Heitinga and how he wears his socks?
He doesn't, not great. But you tell him that, because he looks hard, you know.
I know, but I think I might.
Okay, and you tell him. But either way,
all them socks now.
Yeah, they're not great. The communication was excellent, you know. It was loud, but it was concise. It was encouraging. Yeah. They had this one session where, I don't know if anyone's seen it, they were telling players, we want you to learn how to run through contact and shoulder barge people. So they said, they had pads, like rugby pads, and the players had to run past them, and they had to try and knock them over, and the players had to hold their own strength. And it was like, but it was so
like gladiators,
a little bit like gladiators.
It was a gauntlet.
It was that's exactly what it was like. But the communication I thought was fascinating. They are a very hands-on coaching side. I think coaching staff. I think we can all agree on that. And then the final one, the last point I noticed, no Curtis. Yeah, obviously went off injured the other day. It looks like I'd be shocked if he's involved. No Trey and Yoni and no Ben Doak, but I think that's more workload management.
Well, he referenced on the Trey and Yoni stuff that he thinks he doesn't complete sessions and they pull him out of sessions.
Same for Ben Doak. I think they're so young and these sessions are so hard. They're looking after these young lads, which is I think already goes to show. And listen, I think we all loved Jürgen, of course we did, and no one's going to have a bad word, but I think a few people always raised eyebrows about injury records and things like that.
He came out in his first months at the club and I was asked about Daniel Sturridge and said he needs to learn the difference between pain and real pain. You know what I mean? Like that tells you the difference. You know what I mean? Jürgen Klopp is of the school that says everyone works to the bone and that's it, whereas it sounds a little bit more, I'm not saying Liverpool didn't have a scientific approach before, and you always have to be careful, because I thought this with Curtis Jones' interview, I got my heckles up a bit when he was talking about like, this is the best, this is so good and it suits my style of player. I feel like, how dare you disrespect our managers. But in reality you've got to talk about what it is now and what they're doing now, and you've got to try and find those subtle differences. And you're right, it does feel like this time around the training will be, what's the word, levelled better.
Yeah, and I think also PSV's injury record, touch wood, was always one of the positives with Under Armour. He's brought in his own head of fitness. Like they are big, they're mad keen on it.
Feyenoord.
Sorry, to apologise, I Feyenoord rather. And he did bring in his own staff, like the fitness regime, and you can tell they're working hard, mate. The players do. I walked out, we were in the mix zone, me and Joe Cameron here, and the players were shattered. Like you could tell they were absolutely goose, but they are being looked after.
Well, it's funny because those open training sessions were normally nothing. They did nothing of interest. You'd be hanging around. I remember the best thing I ever saw at a training session was Pepe Reina turned up for one at Fenway Park and did some mad like little skill on the ball. It was one of the best things I've ever seen, certainly from a goalie, and that was literally the highlight, because normally they don't do anything of any real interest, because you've got to be careful, because you're giving so much away we give it away to the public, you're giving it away to the rivals as well. In fact, we had a little nugget before, didn't we, that Arsenal are training somewhere behind us on the behind us in the stadium, and are wary of Liverpool having a presence around here because of like they don't want Liverpool
secrecy.
To see. Mad. That's the level of detail. But I'm glad to see there was stuff to be got from the training sessions.
I suppose they go back to the Curtis thing. That's a shame.
Yeah.
Like he come back early to put himself.
I saw a comment on one of our video, but probably it was your reaction video to it, and someone saying, "Oh well, a shame. He's a good player, but I'd sell him now." And I'm like, I know, baby out with the bathwater, but like he started quite well. He's obviously been doing really well in training. He's a local lad. He's come on leaps and bounds in the last 2 seasons when he's been on the pitch compared to what he's before. In fact, no one questions his ability anymore, which is mad, because I used to see purported Liverpool fans from different YouTube channels and social media accounts slaughtering him out of nowhere. He's brilliant, and I hope it's nothing significant, because the problem is that if you miss swathes of pre-season, it's normally a sort of precursor to missing segments of the season that follows.
He's shown as well, Paul. He has shown once he gets the share, Curtis, he often keeps it, and this was his chance, because no McAllister, there's a few others away, no Gravenberch, or lads who may be fighting for his position, and it was his shirt, and now he's effectively given now on maybe this game in midweek, if he doesn't play, the likes of Szoboszlai, maybe Harvey Elliott, a chance to impress. And if they play well all of a sudden, and Curtis misses another week, and then the manager's thinking of Ipswich, it can be that sport is ruthless. And he took the share because of injuries, and he kept it. He might have just lost it, and it's a shame.
Yeah, again, hopefully it's not a too serious one. We'll see if we can find out. We'll try and do some digging over the next couple of days and see if we can find out something on that. But anything else you wanted to?
No, mate, I'm good. You're looking forward. So just let you know, guys. So we're at the LFC Foundation conversation, coaching clinic. We're hoping to speak to Billy Hogan, Liverpool CEO, later on. I think Sammy Epe, Liverpool legends, coming down, maybe a few others as well. So we'll have all that out for you on the channels, plus socials, all that kind of stuff. Are you looking forward to speaking to Billy?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the only reason I've come.
Is it?
Just flown across an entire huge body of water. Had no sleep to speak to Liverpool CEO. We'll see.
Not this. The show wasn't doing it for you, no.
It wasn't, but it has.
Yes, Paul. Yes. Right, guys. Thanks so much. That was today's Liverpool news update. We keep an eye on all the socials, all the channels. There's loads and loads to come here from Philadelphia, and then of course, as we move down to Carolina later on in the tour. Please like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll be back with another one soon. See you in a bit.